I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes, and then we'll do some Q&A as well. And so if you have some questions that you're thinking about or want to ask, I'd love to try to answer those to the best of my ability. And hopefully I just will be a blessing to you and a help to you. My name is Jabin. I'm a senior pastor now for the last 3 years. Before that, I traveled extensively, and then before that, I was a youth pastor and a worship pastor, and so been in full-time ministry since 2003, so coming up on 20 years, and but have learned more in the last 3 years than in the first however many, and I've learned more in the last year than in the last however many, so hopefully I can bring you some wisdom today. But I want to talk about you today, and I want to talk about how to grow in self-awareness. And I think it's probably going to be your number one key to elevation, to promotion, and to growing in this thing that Jesus had. He had favor with God and man, and not just one or the other. And I find that right now, I think there is people growing in favor maybe with man, or people growing in favor with God, but Jesus grew in both. And I think if you can learn that, and you have to learn, and you have to grow in it, it's a process, and it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of time. But as you can grow in both of these things, and the sooner you begin to grow in them, when Luke wrote that about Jesus, Jesus was 12. So Jesus was growing young. And so you don't have to start growing at 40. You don't have to start growing at 50. You don't have to start growing at 35. You don't have to start growing after you've completely screwed up your life and decided, okay, I'm going to do it better this time. You can grow right now at 19, at 20, at 25 years old, at the position you're in. You can grow before you're on staff. You can grow after you're on staff. You can grow before you are whoever you think you're called to be, or before, after that. You can grow right now. And so Jesus grew, and I guess I've just decided if Jesus needed to grow, I need to grow. Yeah. And if Jesus needed to grow, we all need to grow. And so I'm chasing growth right now. I'm not chasing church growth. I'm not chasing ministerial growth. I'm not chasing more followers. I want personal growth. I'm not chasing success. I'm chasing fruitfulness. I want to grow. I want to be the man that God's called me to be, and the man that people think I am. Because that's character. That's integrity. Integrity is when your personal life and your private life look somewhat the same. Now, they're never probably going to touch, but hopefully they're somewhat connected. Hopefully that who you are when you're all by yourself and who you are on a platform, I hope they line up. And I hope, and that's what you want. That's where peace is. That's where joy is. That's where grace is. That's where you sleep at night. I slept so good last night. I just slept all through the night. That's where you sleep at night. That's where I'm just telling you, that's the journey we're on. And we have to grow into this where secrets become a thing of our past, and we're able to crucify those secrets and get rid of those secrets. And we really do live a life in the light. We walk in the light. Okay, I got to get to my notes. Here we go. We're talking about self-awareness. We're talking about self-awareness. Here is self-awareness. This is too long to write down, so I don't know, get the podcast or something. It is the conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. So your self-awareness is when you know your own character, your own feelings, your own motives, and your own desires. And I'll add to that, it is also how people would describe you. Like if you're constantly misunderstood, then you're the only common denominator. If your pastor doesn't like you, and your pastor's wife doesn't like you, and the choir doesn't like you, and the youth guy doesn't like you, and this person doesn't like you, and it's just nobody gets me. No. You're lacking self-awareness. Okay, if you've been married 4 times, right? Eventually you got to go, maybe all those other spouses were not the issue. Maybe there's something in me that I got to work on. And so self-awareness is this understanding, this true understanding of your own character, your own feelings, your own motives, and your own desire. And a lot of people don't know that. They don't know their motive. They don't know their desire. They don't even know their own emotions. And maybe as I'm even saying this, you're going, thank you for adding to my anxiety. Okay, I'm not trying to. I'm telling you, this is something you have to grow. This is something that you have to work on, or you will live your whole life with blind spots. Okay? So it's when who you are and who you think you are line up. It's when who you are and who you think you are line up. And a lot of times we will tell ourselves the best version of ourselves. And we will paint everyone else as an enemy. Anyone who challenges us, anyone who corrects us, anyone who disagrees with us, anyone who pushes back, they're obviously wrong because they don't know me. But the reality is, the issue is usually you don't know you. And the moment you can learn who you are, and the moment you can grow in self-awareness, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to go from everybody else being your problem to going on a journey of personal growth. Not that you're the problem and you're bad and you hate yourself and you have to change yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about you go from being the victim of everyone else's opinion to, I want to grow. I want to get better. I want to grow in my life. And then you stop being in the defensive of everybody else and you start growing in your own personal character, your own personal life. Oh, is this too heavy for 12:30? I hope we're okay. I hope we're okay. So self-awareness is the understanding of who you are. And it is a clear understanding of what people would say about you behind your back. What would people say? No, don't, let's not get caught up in the haters or the misunderstanders or whatever, but just what would people say? Oh man, they're awesome. Wow, they are great. God, they have such a great attitude. Wow, they're so full of, they're always encouraging me. What would people say? Self-awareness is this deep understanding of who I am and what people would think. Self-awareness is more important than your Enneagram, than your Myers-Briggs, and for some of you, unsanctified, your horoscope. It is more important. Now, I don't touch the horoscopes. I'm a Pentecostal. I speak in tongues. We don't look at that stuff. Glory, Shandai. We do not touch those demonic arts, okay? But for some of you, you do, and you're bound to your horoscope, or you're bound, well, Myers-Briggs said, well, my Enneagram said, well, I just saw this new post about my Enneagram number. All that's okay. But self-awareness is bigger than personality. Our personality test many times can be an excuse for bad character and bad people skills. Well, I know I forgot to do that, but I'm just a 7. Ah! Well, I know it's really mean, but I'm just an 8. Any 8s in the house with me? Any 8s? Glory, glory. I see you. We're praying for you. We're praying for a healing in your heart. Deliverance. I'm an 8 too. We need God to do something deep from our childhood trauma. Well, I know no one can ever live up to my standard, but I'm a 1. No, your self-awareness is so much more important. Your character is so much more important than your personality. And I love all the personality tests, but the moment they become a crutch in your life, you've now just empowered another thing to stop you from growth. Okay. So Jesus grew, Luke 2:52, Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. He grew in wisdom, he grew in stature, he grew in favor. Here's what wisdom is. Wisdom is insight. It's skill. It's intelligence, emotional intelligence and intelligence. It's knowledge applied. Are you growing? Are you growing? This is not something I want you to answer now as much as something I want you to wrestle with am I growing? Am I growing in insight? Am I getting smarter? Am I growing in my emotional intelligence? And am I growing in my skill? Am I becoming better as a singer or a musician or a technician or a preacher? Am I growing in my skill? Am I knowledge applied? Am I applying what I already know? Jesus grew in wisdom. He grew, number 2, in stature. Stature is just another word for maturity. He was getting more mature. He was maturing. Are you maturing? One of the weird things about leadership, especially for you who God is elevating, is that as you're elevated, the number one temptation is to go back into immaturity. Here's why. Because you now have more power, you have more money, and you have more influence. And the first thing that wants to go is character and maturity and integrity. Because you get around people that love you and will say yes to you and won't challenge your stupidity. And you go, well, I can do that. I've paid a price. You never pay a price that puts people down. God never elevates you so that you go higher and they go lower. I'll just give you an example of this. Romans 14, Paul said, if eating meat offered to idols is going to cause people to be offended, don't do it. That's maturity. You may go, well, I'm mature enough to eat it. No, maturity is not in what you can do. Maturity is in what you refuse to do for the sake of people. 1 Corinthians 8, I can drink. All things are lawful. Yeah, you can. But maturity says, but if it's going to cause anyone to stumble, I won't. But I can. You can. But maturity says, I won't. Not I can't, I won't. For your sake. But as you grow in leadership, as you grow in authority, here's what I have today, more of than I've ever had. I have more influence, I have more authority, I have more money, and I have more freedom than I've ever had in my life. All of those things scare the hell out of me. Well, it better scare the hell out of me or I'm gonna start acting like hell. So the higher I go, the more I have to have people around me. I'm gonna get into this in a second. Jesus grew in stature. He got more mature, not less mature. But fame and authority and a stage is all a drug. That if you're not careful, it will make you less mature. You will become immature with authority, immature with influence, immature with a microphone. And how do you know this? Because you will say things that you would have never said, but now you'll say them because you think you paid a price to get there to say. You never pay a price to say things that would cause or do things that would cause people to stumble. Lastly, he grew in favor. Now, not lastly, because I haven't even got to my 6 points. Jesus, be a clock right now and just stop the clock in Jesus' name. He grew in favor. He grew in grace. That's all favor means, grace. Kairos, free gift. How do you grow in something that's free? You steward it. How do you grow in something that's free? You thank God for it. How do you grow in something that's free? You live in gratitude for it. How do you grow in something that's free? You understand that it isn't free. It's free to you, but wasn't free to God. So you treat it as the most expensive prize of your life. He grew in favor. Now we're going to get into self-awareness with God and man. So how do I grow in favor? How do I grow in this? Here's the first one. Now I'm going to get into my points. Number one, you grow by intentional relationships. Intentional relationships. Look at your neighbor real quick. Tell him, I need you. I need you. I need you. You You need a couple of people, not everybody, but you need a couple of people that can help you grow. That don't just like you, that aren't just good to you, but they're good for you. How many know not everyone who's good to you is good for you? But we're drawn to, like a moth to the flame, we are drawn to people who like us because we want to be liked. But you don't just need people who like you. I only go where I'm celebrated, not where I'm tolerated. Whatever. You know who says that? Offended Christians that have been at 29 different churches in the last 29 months. I'm just waiting for somebody to celebrate my gifting and my anointing. No, you need someone who's good for you, not just good to you. You got to have intentional. I am thinking about, focused on who can be in my life, speaking into my life, that is actually helping me grow. Not just encouraging, not just, oh, you're the best, not just, wow, that was a great sermon, not just, I can get all that somewhere else. I can get that from people that don't know me. I need people in my life that can look at me and say, you need to grow, you need to get better. Let me help you. What are you doing with your life? How are you spending your time? You have to have intentional relationships. Proverbs 27:6, wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy. I need people in my life who want what is best for me spiritually, relationally, and emotionally. Who's that? Who is that in your life? Do you have that? I don't have that. Okay, you need to find that. People in your life. Here's a great question, especially if you're on staff. If you were to talk to your pastor and just say, do you feel like I'm open to you? What would he say? Because if he's not correcting you, he's probably already decided it's too much. I can't handle it. Like I can't go through the emotional drama of one little correction, so I'm just gonna back off. Like, who in your life can talk to you, correct you, sharpen you, and it not turn into a full-blown fight? I had to learn how to do this with my wife. I had to learn how to not punish my wife for her honesty. Hey, Jabe, you said that when you were preaching. I just wouldn't, Like, I don't know what it felt like on stage, but from where I was sitting, it was kind of like, ugh. And I had to learn to not go, well, you don't know the pressure I'm under, and you don't know the anointing that God has put on my life, and you don't know what I was feeling in the room, and if you would have said amen a little bit more, maybe I wouldn't have had to tell that. Amen, everybody. That was me like 3 years ago. Now it's like, yes, babe. Because she's right. But if I punish her for honesty, she'll eventually just stop talking to me. Who can talk to you without it being a full-fledged fight? People who want this is how you grow in self-awareness. You have people in your life that can honestly speak into your life. Most people settle for relationships that bring the least resistance, instead of striving for relationships that bring the most health. Number 2, to grow in self-awareness, you have to listen more than talk. Most talking is birthed in insecurity. Most talking is birthed in insecurity. I just sat down, very honored. I'm still amazed at this. I'm just amazed at this whole thing. I'm from Belen, New Mexico, population 1,700. Trailer park kid. I'm still amazed that I get to do this. And I just sat at the lunch table with Pastor Dino and Pastor Kevin and Pastor Mike, and I just drank my coffee. And I just listened. Just listen. I didn't go, Pastor Kevin, I know you've been pastoring longer than I've been alive, but what I've learned in this season, Dino, just from my experience, no, I just listen. That's how you grow. You're not learning if you're talking. If you're talking, you're either telling people what you have learned or you are proving that you have not learned. Do people still tweet? That would be like a tweet right there, but I don't think people still tweet. What do we do now, Instagram? Someone went, did you hear that? Don't do that again, I'm too ADD. If you're talking, you are either showing what you've learned or you're proving what you haven't learned. You never learn when you're talking. You learn when you listen. To grow in self-awareness, you have to learn how to get in a room and listen. You have 2 ears, you have 2 eyes, and you have 1 mouth. Learn the art of listening and engaging without talking. Because body language matters too, and eyes matter too. And you just engage, and you just learn. And you just soak up, and you just, okay, and you don't have to add in, but you want to add in because you want to feel important. You want to add in the same way I want to add in because we're all insecure and we all want to prove that we have a place around the table. But if you're there, that means God wants you there. So you don't have to prove, like there's nothing in me today or tonight that feels like I've got to prove something. Because the invitation is my proof that I belong here. But what people do is they get invited into bigger spaces and then try to prove their worth, but they're already there. So it is not for me to come here and now prove that I belong here. It's for me to come here and now serve this opportunity and serve you and give you something that, I know this isn't like great preaching where you're going to stand up and shout me down, but this is the stuff that, this could literally change your life. This could change you from being a thousandaire to 100,000aire to a millionaire for real. Like this could actually change your business. This could change how you see money. This could change how you see ministry. This could change everything about your life. These little principles that I've had to learn over time and learn through mistakes that I didn't feel like I had to come here to prove something to you. I feel like I've come here to serve you, and you've got to learn how to listen more than you talk. Many words. Look at this, Proverbs 10:19. Where words are many, sin is not absent. Wherever you see a lot of talking, you're going to find sin. But he who holds his tongue is wise. Well, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think about this season right now? I don't know. Well, what would you? I don't know. You are so much better to say, I don't know, than to try to come up with something that you know nothing about. I don't know. Well, what do you think we should do about? I don't know. Give me a couple of days, but I don't know. This is one of the greatest things I've taught my team back home. Just if you get in a corner and don't have an answer, do not make up an answer. Just say, I don't know. And we're now in a culture that is demanding constantly for us to give answers and give opinions. And you have to learn how to resist that. We've gone from a 24-hour news cycle to a 24-minute news cycle. There is something constantly that we can be outraged about and post about and be angry about and throw our opinion about. And 9 times out of 10, you know nothing else besides the headline. They've actually said that now reposting on like Instagram, Twitter, it's like 80% of reposting online, people have not read the article. They read the headline and they go, oh my God, oh God. And like, do you have any idea what's happening in Cuba, or do you just know what the headlines are? Do you actually care? Are you actually thinking about it? I hope you are. I hope you know what's happening there. But I mean, do you really? Or do you just see a headline and do you really know what's going on with what's going on in our politics? Or do you just feel like you got to jump in? Do you really know what happened in that story? Or do you just feel like you have to jump in? I remember tragically, a few months ago, there was a shooting at a massage parlor and people died, and a hashtag began Stop Asian Hate. Now, I pastor a church with 20% Asian, so I love Asians. And I have a heart for the Asian community, and Vegas has an amazingly diverse community, and our church is very diverse. So this happened. I didn't even look at social media. I didn't look at the news. I knew nothing about it. I finally get on Instagram, and I've got DM after DM after DM after DM after DM from strangers going, no, none of them were Asian. This is what's awesome. But they all write me going, where's the hashtag? We're expecting, you're a pastor. We're just really disappointed that you have not spoken up about this. And I'm going, what? So then I got to get online and I got to read about this terrible tragedy that happened. And they're expecting me to speak on something that I know nothing about. Well, I just feel like I have to unfollow you. I just can't believe that you wouldn't speak up about this tragedy. I didn't know about it. So then we live under the pressure of people that I do not know, that I have to now speak on something that I know nothing about. And you have to learn how to not talk. Because where there's many words, sin is not absent. Am I saying that you shouldn't have posted hashtag stop Asian hate? Of course not. Post it. My point is, I didn't even know about it. And now I've got all these people that do not know me and that I do not know telling me what I'm supposed to do. Don't live in that. You grow in self-awareness by listening more than you talk. A couple of weeks ago, Pastor Noah Nickel and I got to be at this round table with Pastor Noah Nickel. Shout out, let's go, King's Church. I'm a proud board member of King's Church. Speaking into the life and no, I'm not. It's so, Pastor Noah and I went to this really cool round table thing with a really big pastor, whatever, and we're sitting there and the pastor goes, hey, as I'm teaching, if you feel like you've got something to add to it or want to make a point or want to say something, just go ahead. It's a free forum. And I sat there and I went, what idiot would cut off this once in a generation leader? Sure enough, he's teaching, and all of a sudden this, well, Pastor, I know here in Alabama, but where I'm at, it just doesn't, and I'm just trying to figure out some things, and I'm just, and what we've learned, and I just, my stomach's turning, I got sweat coming, I'm just like, no, you don't talk right now, this isn't it. And all of a sudden, and we invested massively to be there. Noah and I are now at the mercy of the lowest common denominator in the room. And instead of hearing from a once-in-a-generation leader, we are now hearing from Bubba, whatever, dum-dum, talking about, it works here in Alabama, but, with my congregation of 200, you just don't know and I'm just going, no, don't, no. And he just needed a friend to go, hey, bro, just shut up, just trust me, I'll explain later. You gotta listen more than you talk. Ask more questions and give answers. I'm gonna end here. Maybe not. Ask more questions than give answers. If you are not asking questions right now, it's for one of two reasons. Number one, you're either simply not interested, or two, you think you already know. And you're wrong. If you're not asking questions, you either think you already know, that's not true, because there's always more to learn, or you're not asking questions because you've gotten to that point in your leadership where you're just no longer interested in growing. You have to learn how to ask, because so much of leadership is giving answers. But if you are not asking questions, you will not have anything in you to give away. So the pressure that I feel at 37 years old is not to have answers. The pressure I feel is I better be asking good questions. Because my questions are going to determine the level of my life. My questions are going to determine the level of my life. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God. James 1:5. Are you asking? My life will rise to the level of the questions I ask and to the people that I ask them of. So I don't ask everybody questions. But my leadership is rising to the level. My life is rising to the level of the questions that I'm willing to ask. One of the things that I am so blown away by now, pastoring for these couple of years, is that I'll have guys ask for meetings, and I'll have a meeting with a guy, and we'll sit at coffee for 30 minutes, and he just talks. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm thinking he probably wants to meet, he probably wants to bounce some things off of me, he probably wants to ask. No, he just wants to talk. And he probably wants to throw, what I've learned so far is that they want to throw in a couple of things, and my silence will give them the permission to do it. So like I met with a guy the other couple of weeks ago, and he's like, yeah, I'm getting married. And you know, we just know it's God. And I was just shocked. I just was shook. I didn't say anything because I was so shocked in the moment. I didn't know anything about it. 2 weeks later, he gets married. Like with my blessing. Now he can do whatever the heck he wants. He's a grown adult. But if he would have went, hey, pastors, I think I love this girl. And I'd have been like, man, that is awesome. Let's date for like 8 months and not talk about marriage. And then if y'all still love each other in 8 months, maybe there's something there. Well, I'm still so amazed at people who meet with me to talk to me, but don't ask me questions. Not that I'm the wisest man on the planet, whatever. I'm not. But here's what I've learned. Then I'll go and I'll hang out with dudes in our church that are very successful businessmen, they make more money than me. They've got more of everything than me. And here's what's so amazing. We'll sit down at lunch and they'll go, so I've been thinking about, can you help me with? And the difference is, every guy that I know in my church that is very well off and very successful, all they do is ask questions. And they're not successful because they're asking me questions. Because I'm like, man, that sounds great. They're like, what do you think? I'm going to buy this new lake house at Tahoe and I'm going to make, do you feel like I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Can I use it? What's made them wealthy, what's made them successful, not that they're asking me questions, that's just who they are. They're learners. That's just who they are. You have to learn how to ask more questions and give answers. Lastly, and then we'll have Q&A. You have to learn how to receive correction. We're talking about growing in self-awareness. Proverbs 12:1, whoever loves instruction loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. That word is really brutal in the Hebrew language. It's brutish. They're just out of control. They don't think straight. They're like Neanderthals. If you hate correction, you're just stupid. You're out of your mind. You have to learn how to love correction. And we're in a culture that has put such an emphasis on haters, and if they don't celebrate, you leave, and if they don't, and if the friendship ended, it just proves they weren't assigned to your, I don't know, just all these weird things you read. Do you read these things on Instagram? I just go, oh, this is so unhealthy. And it's so bad of the preacher to post it, and it's so bad that people love it, and it's all soulish, and none of it's spiritual, and none of it's Jesus. You have to learn how to love correction. That doesn't mean that I'm taking correction from everybody and I'm just a doormat being abused, but it does mean that the spirit of my life is open, not closed. The attitude of my life is I want to grow, not I've already arrived. It's a spirit. Proverbs 15:32, if you reject discipline, you only harm yourself. But if you listen to correction, you grow in understanding. Proverbs 9:8, do not rebuke mockers or they will hate you. Rebuke the wise and they will love you. How do you know if you're wise or a mocker? How do you know if you're wise or a fool? Your response to correction. Your response to correction. Wisdom is proven by your response to correction. You know your level of wisdom by your attitude when you're corrected. You got to have people in your life that can correct you, that can go, no, I don't know. Who can tell you no? Who can tell you no, number one, and number two, do they feel comfortable telling you no? Because that's attitude. Who can tell you no is whoever's above you, but who feels actually comfortable enough to go, no? Or do they go, oh, this is going to be a massive war. I can't even go there. Hebrews 12:11, for the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful, here's what it yields, here's what it produces, the peaceful fruit of righteousness. Correction and peace will always be connected. If you lack peace, you probably lack discipline and correction. I'm not talking about an anxiety issue that you may have. I'm talking about if you have no peace in your life, you're probably lacking in correction and discipline, because it's going to yield the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. In other words, they've chosen to allow it to do something in their life. Now you can grow in this. You can grow in your self-awareness. You can grow in what Tim Sanders called the likability factor. You can grow in your favor with God and man. You can grow in this. But it's going to take work. But as you grow in it, there will be elevation. As you grow in it, there will be another level to your life. And it doesn't matter the level you're at right now. This is something you can grow in right now. For whatever's next for you, whether you go into ministry, don't go into ministry, whether you get paid by a church, never get paid by a church, none of that matters. You will succeed in life as you grow in this. You just will. And there's just so many people that have chosen to live a closed off life. And they can only go as far as their gift, instead of to the level of God's favor. I don't know if y'all just heard me. You only go to the level of your gift instead of to the level of God's favor. I am not doing the things I'm doing today by gift alone. God's hand is on me. God's favor is on me. I don't take that lightly, but God has done that. And I've had to grow in that. I recently preached at a really big church, and they were talking about the wins or whatever after the speaker. And everyone in the little green room area, they all said the same thing. They all went, our favorite part of having Jabin is he was so nice. Every time we would ask him something or do something, he would always say thank you. He shook everybody's hand. He looked at everybody in the eye. That is not me working the room. That's me. It's just me. I had to grow in that. And what they loved, they didn't say anything about my sermon. I think it was okay. They remembered how they felt, not what I said. That's favor. That's favor. And you grow in that. And you have to purpose to grow in that. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, hey, Q&A, down. Anybody have a question? It could be about this. It doesn't have to be about this. We got Pastor Tyshawn Rowland right here. Young man of God.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, Pastor Jabin. That was an incredible teaching. I think we should just give it up for him because wasn't that just amazing? So good. It was really good. It really was. Stop. Don't laugh at me, man.
I'm going to spit out my water. I just wasn't ready for that.
It was
I
good.
appreciated it.
Well, all right. Well, I'm sorry.
I loved it. No, I loved it.
Well, one, I really did love this. And when you said we talk out of insecurity, I know that's very true for me, even in this moment. But I feel that pressure due to social media because everyone is putting something out there. And if we if we talk out of insecurity, how do you develop security in silence? Because I feel like if I'm not saying anything, then I'm not putting myself out there. If I'm not putting myself out there, people will think I'm dumb or I have nothing to say. But in fact, I want to be silent. So how would I grow in that and be secure in myself?
Yeah, I think there's a huge pressure to produce content and to talk or to post, whatever. I don't know how you know, at your age and at your guys' age, and then at the exposure that you've had to this, at such a like Noah and I didn't get social media till we were kind of already past it. It's like we don't care and we're bad at it. And we don't, you know what I mean? Like I'll post a blurry picture and Shannon's like, "What are you doing?" You know, I'm like, delete. You know, I don't know. We got people on our team like, please stop, just get, you know, I'm the old guy, you know, it's like my finger's in the picture and it's like, so we don't care like you care and you won't care when you get older. And I think that's a big thing for you to understand is like, well, I care. Like, what will I look back at my life at 40 and think about some of the things I said and preached and posted? Oh. So you keep that in perspective and you just don't feel the pressure to say, you don't feel the pressure to produce all the time. And I think that's much harder for you guys than it is even for us, just a 10-year gap. There's already a massive difference in the pressure of social media, but you don't have to post, you don't have to speak into everything. And even when you don't speak, the proverb, another proverb I didn't read, but one proverb says that when a fool is silent, he'll even look wise. Even a fool looks wise when he keeps his mouth shut. So the less you say, the better in all things. Just a good principle to live by. Yes, right here, yeah.
Thanks. In a team setting, how would you go about correcting team members when needing to reframe a standard of excellence that's not being met? Good.
Privately, calmly, let the emotion pass. Never in the moment. I never correct in the moment. In the sense of, if it was a public, I guess, disrespect of me. Now I'm a senior pastor, and so that just doesn't really happen. Like, people get that, and we've built a big culture of honor, so it's different. But if there was, I think you have to teach stuff like this and get your team to embrace. So here's something we say: we're not a performance culture, we're a growth culture. A performance culture is, I got to look good in front of the boss. A performance culture is, I will step on you to get elevated. Yeah. A performance culture is, I have to be perfect. We're not a performance culture. We're a growth culture, which means, are we growing? That's the question we're asking. That's the question we're wrestling with. That's what we're striving for. That's different. You have to teach that to your team. You have to live that to your team. And then correction becomes non-emotional and fast. Not, 6 months ago you said this and I just haven't been able to let it go. No, it's, hey, 2 days ago you said, we don't say that here. And I love you. Let's go eat. And it's over. And you don't punish people. So, and I've lived in two cultures. I've lived in cultures where I felt punished for mistakes that I did, because most what looks like rebellion is immaturity. Like, I don't have a scientific number, but I'm going to say 99%. It's just immaturity. They're just kids. And it's just, oh man, he's 25. Of course he said that. Ugh. Okay, immaturity, not rebellion. So the motive is always, I love you, and I think you didn't mean it. Now, if you prove me wrong, we're gonna have that conversation. That's gonna be ugly, but I'm believing the best. So it's non-emotional, it's fast, and then you move forward without punishing them for their immaturity. So I just had a thing with a small group leader that did something foolish, and my small group leader, my small group pastor calls me and he goes, okay, I'll cut him. I go, no, don't cut him. Call him.
Yeah.
See what he says. Yeah. Now, if he blows you off, you call me. Right. And I pray to God I don't get a call. Or he should pray to God that he doesn't get a call. The point is, we don't just, he's a kid. Yeah. So we're gonna correct non-emotionally and fast, and then we're gonna move forward. But you have to teach that to your team. The moment though that they feel like it's gonna be emotional and angry and huffing and puffing and then there's fear, then there's performance, then all kinds of other emotions that should not be a part of correction. But don't ignore it. Just don't ignore it. I was gonna do a talk called Leadership Myths. And one of the myths is that I can be a peacekeeper. You can't be. God called us to be peacemakers. I'm just gonna keep the peace. I'm gonna act like it didn't happen and I'm never gonna, no, you can't do that because it'll grow. Yeah, so you can't be a peacekeeper. You have to be a peacemaker, but you're a peacemaker. It's peace. Right. Okay, next question.
That's so good.
Got 11 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm gonna answer faster.
For kind of on the other side, how would you maybe coach people to maybe invite correction if they haven't done that? And then even when they're in that conversation, you're receiving correction, it's not your favorite place to be. Like, how do you coach somebody to take that?
Yeah. You as the leader, I'll assume you're the leader of like your organization or your team, you have to model healthy correction and what it looks like. And it's just kind of what I just went back to. Like when I worked for Jensen, it'd be the weirdest thing because he would come in my office and he'd go, hey, Sunday, this happened. I don't want that to happen. And I would go, yes, sir. And he'd go, do you want to go watch a movie? Yeah. Because I thought that was going to happen, then I wouldn't talk to him for a month because I thought he was mad. And he wasn't mad. And I didn't even know how to. But he didn't make me feel like, he treated me like an adult. So you treat people like, when I said, well, he's a kid, but they're adults, give them respect and go, hey, we're gonna create a culture of growth, of fruitfulness, we're gonna go to the next level. That's gonna take talking about blind spot. That's why it's a blind spot. You didn't know it was there. Now, if they continue to rebel against that, that's a whole other conversation. But what I've found is that the vast majority of the time, I mean, I'm talking about now over 3 years of senior pastoring, the vast majority of your people just do not know. And when you expose them and you bring light to it, they go, oh, yeah, okay. They didn't even know. And then most of the time, very rarely will they totally push back on you and you know what I'm saying? So that's something that I've learned. And so I'm always giving people the benefit of the doubt with that. And you're exposing them to like a new level of leadership, a new level of excellence, a new level. They just didn't know. You just go, hey, here's what we're gonna do here. And that's a culture talk and that's a whole other talk. But here's how we're gonna talk to people. Here's how we're gonna correct people. Here's how we're gonna lead worship. Here's how we're gonna preach. Here's how we're gonna treat the microphone. Here's how we're gonna talk to first-time volunteer, guests. Here's how we're gonna treat our volunteers. And you take them on that journey. And what you wanna do is you want to expose them to so much of this up front. So what you'll find is the more you communicate up front, the less people are making these mistakes because they know. And then the correction is just simply an enforcement of the level you've already communicated. Does that make sense? As opposed to you're not saying anything and then, of course, there's gonna be constant issues. That's like, what I've found is that usually when someone's done something, it's like, oh, well, yeah, we should have, That should have already been clear. That's actually on us. You know what I mean? So I hope that helps, but and one-on-ones are so important, not in front of people, not on text, not on email. Face-to-face is a huge part of this too, because they see tone, they see emotion, and it moves very fast. Anyone else? Let's get a lady up in here.
This is something that I struggle with quite a bit as someone who is young in ministry. How do you have healthy ambition? So like ambition of like, so if you want to blame things on the Enneagram, a 3 who loves to work, and yes, who like
we're gonna pray
hustles.
for you right now.
Yes, someone who thrives on that hustle, but then that tension of like, you're a servant and you're here to serve. You're not here to elevate. So like you're here to elevate others. And so how do you, it's a tension I struggle with so much.
So there will be motives that are connected to your personality, and then there's motives that are connected to your character, and they're different. So I'm an 8. So I'm a leader, and I want to win, and that's who I am, and it's not going away. So my character matters because that's not going away. And I don't need to crucify that. I don't need to kill that. I don't need that to die. I need to baptize it in the Holy Spirit. So as a 3, for instance, I want all of that in you. But it's more heart than anything else. And there's nothing wrong with having ambition. There's nothing wrong with coming to a conference like this and going, man, one day I want to speak here one day. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know, and I mean, it's going back to this, but it's your heart, it's your character. And I think even having, again, people in your life that can kind of go, okay, simmer, easy, you know. But there is a side of me that I love leadership and I love growth and I love clarity and I love culture and but I just have to keep that all sanctified because it's not going away, it's just not leaving me. So it's all about heart. It's all about motive. My desire for ministry or even just success, it hasn't gone away since I was younger. My motive has changed and my insecurity is not there anymore. So that's the difference. And you have to grow in that. Again, what I'm talking about, this isn't like you fix this today. You grow in this and you work on this, yeah? Pastor John?
When you're talking about having honest feedback and honest accountability, it seemed like in my life, as you've been in a church for a long time, it just naturally tends to go away as you get elevated and continues on. So how do you make sure it's like every season there's someone able to be in your life, and how do you pick the right people, I guess, to speak into that?
Yeah. Some of that is good because hopefully you're maturing. So hopefully, you're like, man, I'm just not getting corrected every month anymore. That's good. Like you don't want to be 40 and still. So some of that's good. I think it's having, like for you and his pastor's awesome, Pastor Andrew Gard, I don't know if that's a monthly lunch and you go, can I have a coffee once a month? Can I have a lunch once a month? I just want to hear from you. I just need your voice in my life. Is that possible? Can I have 15 minutes? Can I, whatever his schedule allows? I think opening yourself up to that is really important, and getting around that is really important. Making sure, more than anything, making sure he feels like he has that. Are you married? Okay, so making sure your wife has that door in your life, that she can speak into your life, that she can see things and say things. And then just having a few good friends around you that actually feel like there can be honesty. Like I have real friends that can really say real things to me anytime they want to. And again, I think the fact that you're asking is like the whole battle. You know what I mean? The heart posture means way more than anything else. And then as there needs to be a voice spoken in, Now that can be different for you, or maybe you want someone to critique your preaching, and that can happen too on a different level. But again, it's more of the heart than anything that just says, I want to grow. I am growing. I'm trying to grow. That's what matters. Maybe one more, right here. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Pastor Jabin. My question has to do with, as a leader, when you have a passion for the team and what you get to do on a Sunday, but you see that passion either fade or is not there, or is not matched with other people, how do you just go about helping others grow without, I don't know if I'm asking it right, but how do you just help people have that passion, or at least help them figure out where this, maybe where their passion needs to go if it's no longer on your team and go somewhere else, or just how to help them through that season? Thank you.
Well, it's said that the greatest leaders in the world are church leaders because they're leading volunteers. And so we're having to inspire unpaid people. So you communicating the why is your greatest passion giver to your ministry. Salvations, baptisms, restorations, marriages, families, kids. Sharing wins, sharing the why with your team is number one, the most important thing that you can do to remind them, oh my God, yes. Being present in their life is important. And then I would just say also though, do not ignore the new people that are around because you've gotten comfortable with the people that have been there a long time. And you end up promoting availability instead of the right person. Because if they're always available, that could be a sign of bad character. Because maybe they don't have a job. Maybe they're too free. Maybe they got too much time. Like, why are you always available? Why are you never busy? I want to find the right person, not just the person that's always available. So don't get trapped by a person that's like, they're so faithful. I don't know if they're faithful. Maybe they're just free, but maybe they're not faithful. So I got to end. I know we got to end. So look for, while you're helping inspire them with the why, also don't ignore who could be around you that's like, but man, they're successful and they're busy and maybe, so they just need a better vision from you. Because you want that person to go, I am busy, I am blah, 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 but I'm so moved by what's happening here, I'm willing to give up other things to be a part of this, yeah? So, okay, love y'all. See you tonight.